Welcome. You are about to witness, or you're invited to be a fly on the wall for a class that I'm about to teach. 3 classes, actually. I am about to teach a children's spelling class, and then after that, I will teach an adult spelling class, and then after that, I will teach a adult reading class. And you are invited to just watch behind the scenes as I navigate through those classes. So the class is going to start here in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to learn today and what the class will look like. So my first class will be a youth class. These kids are coming from all over the world. They're amazing. I love teaching them. They're such fast learners. And then after that, like I said, I have 2 adult classes, a spelling class and a reading class. So when they come in, we will do some phonemic awareness work, because in order to be a good reader or a solid speller, you have to have a solid understanding of phonemes, the smallest units of sound within a word. So you'll notice that we'll take about the first 8, 9, 10 minutes of each class, just working on these phonemic awareness skills. For instance, if you want to try it, try counting how many sounds are in the word elephant. How many, now not syllables, how many sounds do you think are in the word elephant? And then put that below. See if you can count up how many sounds. Sounds, not syllables, in elephant. So I'm getting 3. So there's 3 syllables, but there's actually quite a few sounds. In elephant, we have e, ul, e, f, a, n, t, 7 sounds. So in order to spell with confidence, you have to be able to hear what you're spelling. So the biggest reason that somebody would struggle with reading or spelling is because of a weakness in that phonemic awareness skill. So when I start class here in just a few minutes, we're going to work a lot on that phonemic awareness skill. Let's try it again. So I'm going to ask them some questions here in a minute, but before I start, we still have about 5 minutes before class starts. So I'll ask you another one. So how many sounds do you think are in the word butterfly? How many sounds are in the word butterfly? Take a second, count that up, and see what number you come up with and put that in the Q&A. So I'm getting some 3s and 4s, some 6s, 7s. Yeah, kind of an assortment of answers. 5s. So there's a big jump in what we think, how many sounds are in butterfly. So in butterfly, we have b, a, t, f, ul, I. 7 sounds in butterfly. B, a, t, f, ul, I. 7 sounds. Now, if you can't hear those tiny little units of sound, which are called phonemes, then it will be extremely difficult. Nice, Kayla. Then it will be extremely difficult to attach a letter to it to spell it correctly. We spell sounds. So if you're not able to hear a sound within a word, then how are you supposed to attach a letter to it when you're spelling? This is why spelling can be challenging, because we can't hear, even though our hearing is fine. It's the processing of what we are of the information that's coming in through our ears. It's being able to isolate those sounds well enough that you can attach a letter to it to spell a word correctly. All right, I still have a few minutes before I'm going to let my first students in, so let's try one more. How many sounds, try counting how many sounds are in the word aluminum. How many sounds are in the word aluminum? Take a second, count those up. How many sounds in aluminum? So not syllables. Yes. How many tiny little sounds? Those are called phonemes. The smallest units of sound within a spoken word are called phonemes. And that is what I'm about to teach my class here, that you're going to get a sneak peek, and you're going to be a little fly on the wall in my class. The first thing we work on is those phonemes and being able to hear and isolate, manipulate those. So in aluminum, we have a, o, u, I, n, a, 8. Let me know if you got that right. Put a Y in the Q&A or in the chat if you got that for yes, I got it, or an A for almost. So again, it's a, o, u, I, n, a, 8 sounds in aluminum. So we're going to spend here in about 2 minutes, I'm going to let my students into my class. We're going to work the first 8, 9, 10 minutes of our class just fine-tuning that phonemic awareness skill so that their spelling will improve. So I'm going to have a youth class first, kids class first, then my adult spelling class, and my adults come from all over the world. They're amazing. Then I'm going to have my adult reading class, and you'll be able to just kind of watch me teach, like just a behind the scenes glimpse into me teaching my class here in just a few minutes. But at the beginning of each one of those classes, I will be working, what's the word, aggressively on that phonemic awareness skill, because that is the core and causal factor of reading struggles and especially spelling difficulties. If you have a hard time spelling, it is likely because you have a hard time with phonemic awareness. So I'm about to let my students in here. My first class is about to start. They're amazing. They always come early. They are on time. So this first class is my youth class. All right, let me start the class here. And so I'm going to be focusing on them, but you are invited to just watch behind the scenes while I teach. Yep, there's already a class full of students here. And I like to come a little early to their class because they like to just say hello to the teacher. They're so cute. So again, I'm gonna be focusing on my class here. You are going to be watching me teach my classes. So I'm going to be engaging with them, but you are invited to just watch me work. All right, I am about to let them in. Having a little struggle with the technology. I'm glad you got to see me teach when the technology isn't working. I mean it will, but it'll work. Okay, 3:30. Here we go. I'm going to start class. Hello, my friends. Welcome to spelling class. It is so lovely to see you. How has your day been? Hopefully your day has been as wonderful as you are. So really, really great. I'm so happy that you made it. And if you're brand new, a special welcome to you. We're so grateful that you came and so happy to have you. All right, my friends, we are going to start by warming up our ears so that we can hear what we are spelling. Tell me how many sounds you hear in the word nocturnal. Tell me how many sounds you hear in the word nocturnal. And put that in the Q&A for me, please. How many sounds in nocturnal? Okay, good, good. All right, lots of answers, so let's count them up. In nocturnal, we have n, ah, k, t, n, ul. How many was that? 8. Let's do it again. N, k, t, n, ul. 8 sounds, and here's how those sounds are spelled. So as you can see, that O in that word is making its short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants. That UR is working together to say It spells the sound. UR, IR, ER, R, they all say the same thing. They all say and even OR and AR can also make that sound when it's at the end of a word and it's not accented, but that's another lesson. You can also see in nocturnal that A toward the end, it's saying right? That's the schwa sound. And that A isn't breaking any rules. That's exactly what A should say when it's toward the end of a multi-syllable word and there's a consonant or 2 after it. So very good if you got 8 sounds in nocturnal. Let's try another one. How many sounds in the word meadow? Meadow. Count how many sounds in meadow for me. And drop it in the Q&A. Okay. Meadow. We're counting the sounds in meadow. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Getting some 5s. Let's see if it is 5s. How many sounds in meadow? We have d, o. 4. 4 sounds in meadow. Again, d, o. Now here's how those sounds are spelled. That EA, and right toward the beginning there, it's spelling the sound. EA can say 4 different things. It can say E, A, or when it has a R after it, as in heart, it says something different. Typically, it's going to be those 3 things, E, and A. So as you can see in this word, it is spelling the sound. It also spells that sound in words like bread, lead, head, okay? And then that OW at the end, that is spelling the O sound. O has several different spellings, and we're going to have a whole month all about O in, I think it's May, so you can learn why that O sound at the end is spelled with an OW. It's for a very special reason, but just a sneak peek, that's usually how you're going to spell the O sound at the end. It's going to be either an O or an OW for the most part. Okay, last one to count. How many sounds in the word, okay, are you ready? Here's a long one, but you can do it. You're so good at these. How many sounds in the word independent? Independent. I don't want the syllables, I want the sounds within each syllable. Count them all up. I will put the spelling right here for you. Okay, independent. Yeah, there's a lot, I know. Okay, so in independent, we have Make sure you separate those 2 sounds. It might be kind of hard. That I sound, it might be tempting to stick onto that N sound, but we must separate it so we know how to spell them. So we have d, E. Those 2 also might want to stick together like glue because the name of the letter D sounds like it's a unit, right? But it's actually 2 sounds. It's 2 phonemes. So we have to separate each one so we can hear what we're spelling. I, N, D, E, P, E, N, D, E, N, T. I ran out of fingers. There's 11 there. Again, do it with me. I, N, D, E, P, E, N, D, E, N, T. Give me an Y in the Q&A if you got that, or an A if it was almost. That was a lot. Here's how those sounds are spelled. You can see right there in the chat. We have to separate each one with that space, so none of them are touching. None of those sounds should be touching. They're each isolated. And every vowel in this word says exactly what you would expect because of the tap 2 rule that we've been studying, right? All of those vowels except for that second one are making their short sound because there are 2 consonants after it. That first E right there, it is making its long sound because there's another vowel 1 or 2 spots away. Okay, those are our 3 counting. 3 more warm-up questions. I want you to say, now no pencil, no writing anything in the Q&A, nothing in the chat, put your pencil down. I want you to say the word grass. Say grass. Now, say it without the Nothing in writing. I don't want to see your answer. This is all in our mind, all sound work. No letters. So when you say grass without the it's gas. We can't let our lips form that sound. You can control the sound of the word by controlling the shape of your mouth. We're not going to let our mouth form that sound, right? So grass without the is gas. Gas. How did you do on that one? Easy, medium, or hard? E, M, or H? If that one was easy, medium, or hard. I'm having a hard time seeing the Q&A today, you guys. My little volume button is stuck right over the Q&A button. So I wish I could. I'm hoping that after I share my screen, then it will be much more accessible, because you're probably saying all sorts of wonderful things in there and I'm having a hard time seeing them. All right, 2 more warm-up questions. Say the word plant. Plant. Now, say the word plant, but add a sound. Add an after the n. So say the word plant, but add an after the n. Okay, when you do that, plant, adding an after the n is planet. Plant to planet. Yeah? Easy? Medium? Hard? E, M, or H? How are you doing? Last one. Okay, now we're going to change a sound and then we're going to do our deep learning. Say the word fount. Fount. Now, change the ow sound, that diphthong ow, to an ah. So change the ow in fount to an ah. So you have to watch the shape of your mouth. Don't let it form that sound ow. Just let your jaw drop and put that ah sound in that space instead. So when you do that, ow, changing this ow to an ah is font. Font. How was that one? How was that one? I wish I could see the Q&A. Okay, as soon as I share my screen, I'm sure I'm gonna be able to see it. I hope, because I really want to hear what you guys are saying. Technology, gotta love it. All right, my friends, so we are wrapping up E month. We've learned so much about E this month. We have learned that if you're spelling the long E sound, you're usually going to have an E there, but then you're also going to need a companion vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. In short words, if that E sound is in the middle, that companion vowel is usually going to be another E, an EE, as in feet or meat. It can be an EA, but EA is its own lesson, which you're also going to have because it has a lot of different spelling patterns that go with it. EE is a common spelling for the E sound in the middle of short words. If it's a longer word and that E sound is toward the end, it's going to be a E consonant final silent E. E consonant final silent E, like in the word compete or delete. Do you see that? E, consonant, final silent E. That's another way to spell the long E sound. Another way to spell the long E sound is not even with an E at all. It is with a Y. And you're going to spell the long E sound at the end of longer words with a Y, not an E, because E's at the end are usually silent, especially if it's a multi-syllable word, a longer word. But Y will spell that E sound. So if you're spelling a word like happy, pretty, candy, silly, trendy, city, do you hear all those E's at the end? Spell that long E sound with a Y, not an E. An E at the end is usually silent unless it's a one-syllable word. Okay, we've also learned that an EY will spell the E sound sometimes, especially if you're spelling it at the end and the letters before it is an LL, an N, or a K. Do you remember that lesson? So if you're spelling the E sound at the end, sometimes it's not going to be a Y. Sometimes it's going to be an EY, especially if that letter before it is an LN, an LL, an N, or a K. I think that about covers it. What did we learn just on Monday? Oh yeah, the EI. EI will spell the E sound often after a C. Remember? So C will make its soft sound and say S when that next letter is an E, I, or Y. So when you're spelling words like receive or receipt, that E sound after a C is going to be spelled EI a lot of the time. Okay, let's get spelling. Let's get practicing. Let me share my screen. So hopefully I can see this Q&A because I'm dying to hear what you guys are saying, especially because I'm going to ask you to spell these words for me in the Q&A, and I really want to see. I wonder why it's doing that. So this little volume bar is right over the Q&A. Never had that happen before. I'm going to have to study that up so I can see, because I want to hear I want to see what you guys are putting in there. Okay, sharing my screen again. So the first word that we are going to spell together is phlegm. Phlegm. So our sounds are f, l, e, m. Consonants. F, l, e, m. Vowels. Now, when we're spelling that long E sound, especially in the middle of a short word like this, it's usually going to be spelled with an EE. Phlegm, right? That we can't spell it with just a single E because, let me make that better. Because what would that say? If it was just one E right there, then that E would be forced to make it short sound, right? Because there is not another vowel in the next one or two spots, and that would say phlegm. We don't want phlegm. We want the nonsense word phlegm. So that's when it needs a companion vowel. And if there isn't one, make one. And your vowel of choice is going to be that EE right there in that spot. Okay, your word without me. Try the word speen. Speen. So we have S-P-E-N. Spell the word speen for me. So if you're talking to me in the Q&A, which I know you are, and I'm not ignoring you, for some reason my Q&A button right now is hidden by the volume button, so I miss you. I miss seeing what you're saying to me, but know that I'm cheering you on, and I'm sure you are doing great. And next time you come, I'm gonna make sure that that is fixed so that I can see your answers. I want to talk to you and tell you how you're doing. Make sure that I give you that beautiful feedback that you deserve. Okay, so our word is speen. Speen. The consonants are S, P, E, N. Now we're spelling that E sound. We can't spell with just a single E because what would that say? And that word would be spin. So in order for that E to make its long sound, it needs to have another vowel in the next one or two spots. If there's not one, make one. And that's why we add that EE right there in that spot. You got that right, didn't you? I have a feeling you got that right, or we're super, super close. All right, try this next one. We're gonna do this next one together. Now, do you remember if you are spelling a short E sound, your jaw has to be dropped just a little bit, but not too much. Too much of a drop when you're pronouncing the sound would turn into an ah. Too little of a drop when you're pronouncing the sound would be an I. So we need that medium with When you're spelling that sound, that short E sound, you need to have two consonants after it. If there's not two consonants after it, you're going to double the next letter. Okay, keep that in mind and let's spell the word bleppy. Bleppy together. B-L-E-P-E. Consonants. B-L-E-P-E. Vowels. Is usually spelled with an E. We always try the most common spelling first, and if it works, stop, we're done. And this one will work. This E can say as long as there are two consonants after it. If there's not two, which there aren't right now, we need to add two by doubling the next letter. There. Now that E can say Now our last sound E, are we going to spell that last sound E with an E? Not when it's at the end of a multisyllable word. We spell that with a Y. The E sound at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y, right? All right, your word without me is steady. Steady. Go for it. S-T-R-E-D-E. Steady. How are you doing? Maybe I can fix this. Because I am dying to see your work. I'm going to miss seeing your beautiful answers. Steady. We are spelling steady. That begins with a 3-letter consonant blend. Grab every single one of those. Make sure that your vowel is able to spell its short sound depending on the letter or letters that come after it. The word is steady. Steady. Okay, here we go. Our consonants. S-T-R-E-D-E. We're going to spell with just a regular E. However, in order for it to make its short sound, we need to have two consonants after it. If there's not two, make two, right? That's why we double the D there. And then the E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. There you go. Beautiful. All right, let's try. Let's try. I want to try this one to review what we learned on Monday. So when you're spelling the E sound after a C, it's often going to be spelled with an E-I, right? E-I often comes after a C. E-I often comes after a C. It still follows the tap 2 rule that E still says E because there's another vowel 1 or 2 doors down. Now keep that in mind. E-I often spells E after a C. That's the first thing I want you to know going into this next word. The second thing I want you to know going into this next word is there is no S's in this word. All right? If you hear an S sound, spell it with a C. C can say its soft sound when the next letter is an E, I, or Y. So 2 hints in this word. There's going to be an E-I somewhere. You figure out where it goes. And spell the S sound with a C. Okay, your word is. And try this one without me. Wait, should we do that? Yeah, I think you can do it. Yeah, I think you can do it. Plesimpi. Plesimpi. Grab every sound. We have P, O, E, S, E, M, P, E. We are spelling plesimpi. My lips are closed there right before that P sound. Plesimpi. Plesimpi. I'll give you a few minutes to drop your words in the Q&A, even though I can't see them right now. but that will be fixed for Monday. Plea-seem-py. I'm sure they're perfect. I'm sure they're so good. I'm sure they're so golden. Everybody gets an A+. All right, our consonants are P, U, E, S, spelled with a C, because that next letter is going to be an E-I-Y, right? We can hear it, E, plea-seem-py. Rest of the consonants are M, P, E. All right, so plea-seem-py, we have 3 different E sounds in this word. Plea, seem, P. Did you hear them? 3 different E sounds, but guess what? They're all going to be spelled differently. The first one is going to be spelled with just a regular old E. Why? Because you can. You always spell a long vowel sound with just a single letter if you can, and then stop, you're done. And this E does have another vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots, so it can say its name. So stop, we don't need a companion vowel next to it. It already has one 2 doors down. Okay, now look at this E right here sound after a C. How are we going to spell that? E-Y, E-I, you knew it. E-I often spells E after a C. E-I often spells E after a C. Now, all we have left is that E sound at the end of the word. Plea-seem-py. How do you think we're going to spell that last one? With a Y, you knew it. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y, usually. So there's plea-seem-py. All right, my friends, let's try more of a medium one. That was kind of a hard one. Let's tone it down just a little bit and try kind of a medium one. Let's try the word let's try the word clendy. Clendy. How would you spell clendy? K-L-E-N-D-E. Clendy. How are you going to spell clendy? You did it, didn't you? I have a feeling you did it. Even though I can't see the Q&A right now, it's driving me crazy, but I will have that fixed for Monday, don't you worry. Otherwise, I'll just enable the chat and we can chat in there. Okay, clendy. We're going to do those consonants first. K is spelled with a C almost always. Don't use a CK. Don't use a K. Those have very special places where they're used, and it's going to have its own lesson. We're always going to spell K with a C until I tell you differently or teach you differently. So clendy, K-O-L-E-N-D-E. There's the consonant spellings. Now the vowels. We are going to try it with just a regular old E. Is that the only letter that can spell Do you think? Is that the only way to spell with an E? Do you think that's the only way you can spell Nope. Do you remember that warm-up question that we had before class? With EA spelling the sound, like in head or lead or steady. Yeah, EA can also spell As a matter of fact, guess what? Fun fact. A can even say, not A says not sometimes. All right, back to the word clendy. So here we have our that's spelling the sound right here just fine because there are 2 consonants after it. And then we have that E sound at the end. And how do we spell E at the end of a longer word? Spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. Beautiful. I have a feeling you got that right. All right, so I'm going to give you, should we end on an easy one, a medium one, or more of a difficult one? You do like the more difficult ones, don't you? All right, try this one. Try the word, okay, fleapetty. Fleapetty without me. Go for it. Sounds. F-L-E-P-E-D-E. How many sounds in fully petty? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure you spell each sound in fully petty. Fully petty. Good, good, good. I can tell that you are doing amazing. You always do. You are the fastest learners. You pick up things so quickly. You're remembering all that you have learned about E so far this month to spell fully petty with no problem. All right, here we go. Consonants. F, O, E, P, E, D, E. Vowels. Fully petty. That first E sound, we always try a single vowel first. And if it works, stop, you're done. Can this E say E here? Yes, it can, because there's another vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. So stop, you're golden. You don't need any other companion vowel because there's already one there. Eh. Can this E say eh in this word? Can it spell the eh sound? Not yet, right? Because what does a short vowel need? 2 consonants after it. If there's not 2, make 2. So that's why we're going to double that D. If there's not 2 consonants, we make 2 consonants by doubling the next letter. There is, now that E can say eh. Now our last sound is E, flea petty, flea petty. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. You knew it. You did golden, didn't you? Okay, so since the Q&A is not working today, I want you to remember how great you did today so that when we meet back on Monday, you can tell me how amazing you did, and I will be so excited for you. I will just be full of praise, like I always am when I can see your work. So next time we meet on Monday, it's going to be a new month. Do you know what that means? A new vowel. And next month in March, we are learning all about I. And I is a fun vowel because it's kind of on the easier side. Some vowels, when you're spelling them, they have so many different spellings. Like A has so many different sounds and so many different spellings. E has so many different sounds and different spellings. But I is more of a friendly, more kind of a simple little letter to study. So March, we're going to kind of take a little bit of a break as far as difficulty, and we will be learning all about I. It's pretty fun too. You're going to learn some things about I that most people don't know, so that's exciting. All right, my friends, you're amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody. Okay, so I just finished teaching a youth spelling class. It was a little unfortunate that I wasn't able to see the Q&A because that is usually how we communicate. So now I'm about to start my adult spelling class, and that, maybe some of you know, so my volume bar is stuck there at the bottom of the screen. I'm not able to fix that. You know what, I'm just gonna, yeah, it's just stuck there. And it's covering up the Q&A button. And it's not letting me kind of, oh, I wonder if it's because I snapped it. I wonder if I snap it back. Maybe that will work. If you have an answer for me, drop it in the Q&A. How I can get the volume button on the bottom of my screen here to disappear so I can enable the Q&A. Let me try this. Let me try, because I have to start my class here in about 30 seconds. Oh, maybe that, did I just fix it? I hope, nope. Saying a little silent prayer here in my head. It works every time. Let's try that. All right, so I am starting my adult spelling class right now. That was my children's spelling class. This is my adult spelling class. I love it. I believe it's working. Prayer works every time. Okay, and they all come from all over the world. My students in my adult class here, they wake up in the middle of the night sometimes to come to class. You can see why I love what I do. Okay, I'm going to be engaging with them only now. So thanks for watching and watching our little behind the scenes here as I teach. Okay, I'm starting class now. Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. It is lovely to see you. Thanks for making the time to come to spelling class today. You are my heroes for doing so. And if you are brand new, welcome, a special welcome to you. We are going to start our class by counting some sounds to warm up our phonemic awareness skills so that we can hear what we are spelling. So, would you please count how many sounds are in the word nocturnal? Please count how many sounds are in the word nocturnal, and then put that in the Q&A for me, please. How many sounds are in nocturnal? Okay, we're getting some 8s, some more 8s, some 9s now are coming in the Q&A. Sounds, if you're just joining us, welcome. We are counting the sounds in nocturnal. Okay, we're getting lots of 7s, 8s, and 9s. So let's count them up and see what we have. In nocturnal, we have n, a, k, t, n, a, l. 8. Do it again. N, a, k, t, n, a, l. 8. And here is how those sounds are spelled. We need to do this so that we can hear what we are spelling. That is the biggest obstacle. Okay, so there's nocturnal. You can see that that first O is spelling the ah sound right there because that's what O's say when there are 2 consonants after them. That UR is spelling the sound, just like ER and IR, and even AR and OR when they're not accented. And then that A is spelling the schwa sound, because that's what A's say when they're toward the end of a multisyllable word and there is a consonant at the end. Brilliant. You are off to a great start, my friends. If you didn't get right on it, you only got 1 number off. I can see it's all 7s, 8s, and 9s in the Q&A, and that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. All right, count the sounds in the word meadow. How many sounds in meadow? And put that in the Q&A for me. Let's see what we're getting in meadow. Hello, Beverly. It's so nice to see you. We are counting the sounds in meadow, getting lots of 4s, 5s, and 6s in meadow. So no print, don't write anything down. We're only counting the sounds, smallest sounds, not the syllables. All right, lots of 4s. Let's see what we've got here in meadow. We have m, e, d, o. 4. 4 sounds in meadow. M, e, d, o. 4 sounds in meadow. Here's how they are spelled. That EA is spelling the sound because that is the second most common spelling of E is the most common spelling. EA is the second most common spelling of It's also the second most common sound of EA. EA will say E, or A. And a good way to remember that, this is really for reading class. I'll go over this in reading class in the next half hour, but if you think of the phrase clean breath is great, you can see those three different sounds that EA is spelling E, and A, and that is in order of frequency. That is how often, or the order that those sounds from those spellings will be pronounced. Next, all right, let's count one more. How many sounds in independent? Independent. There's a lot of them you can hear my keyboard typing. How many sounds in independent? Independent. So there are 4 syllables in dependent. You're right. However, each one of those syllables has several sounds in them. Count all of the tiny little micro sounds within each syllable so that we can hear what we're spelling. Independent. Okay, you're getting lots of 9s, 8s, and 10s. So let's count and figure it out. The first 2 sounds you need to separate. They're going to be tempting to squish together. That is I, N. Make sure that you separate those. Same with the next 2 sounds. D, E. Those 4 sounds are going to be tempting to mesh into each other, but we must isolate them so that we can hear them enough to spell each one of those sounds. So we have I, N, D, E, P, E, N, D, E, N, T. 11. Again. I, N, D, E, P, E, N, D, E, N. Did you get all that? I bet you did. Here's the sound. So every letter says exactly what you would expect in that word. 11 sounds for 11 letters. 11 letters for 11 sounds. Every vowel is following the tap 2 rule. If it's a long vowel, there is another vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. If it's a short vowel, there are 2 consonants after it. All right, let's do 3 more questions for warm-up. Please say the word grass. Grass. Now, say the word grass without the Say the word grass without the So we can't let your mouth form that shape. Don't let your lips go into a pucker. To control the sounds that are said in a word, you have to control the shape of your mouth. So don't let that pucker form, and that R will not be in there. So in grass, we have G, R, A, S. If without the all we have is G, ass, gas. Grass to gas. How was that one? Easy, medium, or hard? Put an E, M, or H in a Q&A for me, please. Okay, easy, easy, hard, easy, easy, hard, medium, medium, medium. Okay. It was hard to take out the R? Right, it is. But if you focus on that mouth shape and don't let your mouth even begin to form that sound, that's how you can control that R from not getting into that word. Try this one. Say the word plant. Plant. Now, say plant, but add an E after the N. Say plant, but add an E after the N. All right, so plant with an E after the N is planet. Plant to planet. How is that one? Easy, medium, or hard? E, M, or H? medium, medium, easy, easy, medium, 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 hard. All right. Lots of mediums for that one. Planet to plant. Probably because we were working with a medial sound. Those sounds right in the middle, they can be so easily absorbed into the sounds before them and after them. Can they not? That's why we do this work, so that we can, because that's why spelling is difficult, because those sounds in the middle, they get muddled together. Sometimes we don't even say the word correctly because we're kind of not sure how those sounds are supposed to be ordered. So this is training our brain to hear those tiny little micro sounds, enough to isolate them and manipulate them around so that spelling will be much more easy, accessible. Last one. Say the word fount. Fount. Now change that ow diphthong to an ah. Ah. Change the ow to an ah. So control the shape of your mouth. Change the ow to an ah in fount. All right, so when you do that, fount, that ow diphthong, we're trading it for an ah with your jaw dropped. So instead of ow, it's ah. So it turns from fount to font. Fount to font. How was that one? Let me know, E, M, or H, easy, medium, or hard? Easy? Really? I thought that one would be more difficult. Okay, it's hard for plenty of people also, so don't feel like you were the only one that put an H there. There's lots that put an H for that one. Okay, looks like we're getting pretty well-rounded numbers in there. That's perfect. You're perfect. Okay, so we are at the end of E month. We're going to wrap up a little bit what we've been learning this month. And if you're brand new, don't worry, I'm going to reteach it right as we go. And then on Monday, we're going to start a whole new month that I'll talk about at the end of class. But what we've learned so far about E, when you're spelling an E sound, the long E sound, you have to have another vowel 1 or 2 spots away. If there's not one, you have to add one. And we add another E right next to that first E when it's in a short word, usually right in the middle, like feet or meet, like we're going to meet up. EA is often used also to spell the E sound, but EA is a complicated vowel team that has a lot of different sounds. It spells a lot of different sounds, and it has its own lesson. So we're going to use the EE vowel team to spell that long E sound in the middle of short words. When you hear that long E sound toward the end of longer words, like compete, complete, delete, you're going to use an E consonant final silent E. E consonant final silent E. Okay, we're going to be practicing that today too. We've also learned that you can spell the E sound with just a Y when it comes at the end of multi-syllable words. You're going to spell the E sound with just a Y when it's at the end of multi-syllable words. Like what? Put some words that end with Y in the chat for me. Silly, candy, pretty, trendy, rapidly, slowly, quickly, baby, here they come, happy, money. Oh, or keep track of money, right? We're going to talk about that in just a second. Yes, that word way, that A-Y is spelling the A sound, and that's how you spell the A sound at the end of words. Think about when Y is spelling the E sound at the end. Any others? We have sunny coming through, funny. There are everywhere. Yeah, Mary, a whole bunch of names end with Y. And Y is going to be your spelling of choice when you're spelling the E sound at the end of multi-syllable words, longer words. You also might have an EY option. This is what we learned last week. EY will be how you spell it at the end of words, multi-syllable words, if the letter before it is an N or a K or an LL, like valley or money or monkey. That's much less common. Yeah, Daryl, you put money as an example. There you can see that that EY is spelling the E sound after an N or a K or an LL. What else have we learned about E this month? Two more things, I think. We have learned that when you're spelling the sound, the short E sound, the next two letters have to be consonants. If they're not, you're going to double the next letter so that that E can spell the sound. And then the last thing that we learned just on Monday was that isn't E kind of complicated? It has so many different spellings and we haven't even gone over all of them. You're going to love next month. Next month is so simple with I. But we also learned that E can be spelled with an EI after a C, like receive, receipt, conceive, or conceit, right? All right, so having reminded you of all of that, let's get spelling and get practicing. Let me share my screen. All right, here we go. So our first word that we are going to spell together is the word phlegm. Phlegm. Our sounds are f, o, e, m. Separate the sounds first. Now our consonants. F, o, e, m. Now our vowels. We save the vowels for last so that you know how to spell them. Vowels have so many different spellings. You have to know what the letters are around it and where that vowel is to know how to spell that particular sound. So since this is in the middle of a short word, we're going to use that EE option. We can't just use the single E. Why not? That would say phlegm, because that E does not have a companion vowel in the next one or two spots. So we add one. That EE is our vowel of choice in the middle of short words like this. Okay, your word is, on your own, speen. Speen. S-p-e-n. Go for it. Speen. And then put your answer in the chat so I can see it. Speen. Speen. Beautiful. Yes. Nice. Gorgeous. Exactly. So that last sound, Monica, my mouth is open instead of closed. My tongue is going to the top of my mouth. Speen. Yeah, and then you'll have it. Yeah, Clement, my mouth is open on that last sound. I know it's kind of hard to hear in the mic. Speen. Yeah, exactly. All right, so our consonants are S, P, E, N. Vowels. Our vowel of choice is going to be that EE vowel team, spelling the E sound. You'll notice that that first E, it follows the tap 2 rule. Now it can say its long sound because there's another vowel in the next one or two spots. Otherwise, if there was only one E there, it would say spin. We would spell spin. All right, next, spell the word blempy. Let's do this one together. Blempy. B-O-E. Mouth is closed. P-E. Blempy. Consonants. B-O-E. P-E. Vowels. E. We always try a single vowel first. Can that E spell in that spot? Yes, it can, because the next two letters are consonants. Blempy. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y, usually. Sometimes we're going to use that EY, the letter before it is an N, a K, or an LL. We'll have that one in just a second. Your word without me is strendy. Strendy. S-t-r-e-n-d-e. Strendy. 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 Nice. Good. Beautiful. Lovely. I love how you're all getting that 3-letter consonant blend at the beginning without letting any of those sounds out. Strendy. Beautiful, well done. Keep going. Strendy. So make sure that you have the same number of lines as me that you see here on the board, and that the right lines are dotted for your vowels. Strendy. All right, consonants we have s, t, r, e, n, d, e. Vowels, strendy, e. An E can spell the S sound right there just fine because the next 2 letters are consonants. And then E at the end of a longer word is usually spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is usually spelled with a Y. Well done. Let's try this one together. Holy smokes, our time is flying by. Then I'm gonna, let me think of which words I want to do with you in our short time that we have left. Okay. Try the word. Okay, let me just remind you of how to spell the E sound toward the end of a multisyllable word. Multisyllable word means that there are 2 vowels that don't touch. If that's the case, if you're in a word that has 2 vowels that don't touch, that qualifies as multisyllable. When that E is toward the end, you're going to use an E consonant final silent E. E consonant final silent E to make that, so that almost last sound E can make its long sound. It needs that companion vowel, that silent E. Okay, your word without me, just on your own, is e-meat. E-meat sounds E. Mouth closed. E. T. 4 sounds, 2 are dotted. E-meat. E-meat. Rowan, you have 1 extra letter. See if you can figure out which one does not belong. One of these things does not belong. E-meat. Beverly, that double E is an option to spell the E sound, but that is usually saved for 1-syllable words where there's only 1 vowel sound in it. When it's a multi-syllable word like that, the spelling for E of choice is E consonant final silent E. Nice, Sheldon. E consonant. There you go, Beverly. Silent. There you go, Rowan. Now give me that last letter that you accidentally took off on that one. E consonant final silent E. E consonant final silent E. Big juicy hint. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of double E's on there, and I like that you know that EE can spell E, but that's usually for the beginning of words, not toward the end of multisyllable words. Okay, so in E-meat, let's do our consonants first. We have E, E, T, right? 4 sounds. Those are the 2 consonants. Now we have our 2 E sounds. We always start with a single E, and if it works, stop, you're done. Can this E say E here? Yes, so stop, we're done. It already has a companion vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. We don't have to add anything. It's perfect. Now the second E sound, can we use just a single E to make the E sound? We can't say E right now because there's not another vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots. If there's not one, we add one. Our options, as you know, are an EE or an E consonant final silent E. This one is usually for short words. This one is usually for the end of multisyllable or longer words. So this is going to be the spelling of choice for our word. We're going to put that silent E right there. E-meat. Okay, let's do another one of those. Our word is e-peam. E-peam. Go for it. E-P-E-M. E-peam. Where does our time go, my friends? Where does our time go? E-peam. E, consonant, final silent E. E-peem, there you go, nice. E-peem, because we need that companion vowel to say, for that second E to say its name. E-peem. All right, so our consonants are E, P, E, M. E can spell the E sound right there at the beginning because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down, but this E needs a companion vowel, and because it's a multi-syllable word, it doesn't look like a very long word, but it qualifies as a long word, a multi-syllable word, because there are 2 vowels that don't touch. So we're going to use that E, consonant, final silent E pattern. There's E-peem. Okay, do we have time for one more? I think we do. Okay, steam. And my first sound is sh, like shower or show, okay? Steam. Sh, st, e, steam. 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 Gorgeous, Francesco. Nice, Beverly. Good, Joe. Beautiful, Joseph. Yes, exactly. Clement, you have the right letters, but I need one of them in a different spot. See if you can, I know you can figure that out. Oh, row 1 so close. Give me one more letter. Nice. Beautiful. Steam. Good, Sheldon. Okay. Our consonants. Sh, s, t, e, m. Right here can be spelled with an E just fine because the next 2 letters are consonants. And here we have a multi-syllable word. 2 vowels don't touch. So this final E sound is going to be spelled with an E, consonant, final silent E. E, consonant, final silent E. All right, my friends, so you learned so much about E. E is not the easiest letter to absorb. There's a lot of different spelling patterns, and we didn't even go over all of them. We could spend probably 6 months on E. E and A and O, they're kind of on the hard side. Just not really hard, just there's a lot to learn about them. They have so many different spellings, and they spell so many different sounds. But here's the good news. E, I, Y, and U, but especially I and Y are just straight up fun. And next month, starting on Monday, we get to learn about I. And I has a lot of fun facts in it that a lot of people don't know about, so that'll be fun to talk about next time. So on Monday, get ready to learn all about I. For now, congratulate yourself on all that you learned about E. You did great. All right, my friends, I will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody. Okay, my friends, hello over there on social media. I just finished my adult spelling class, and now I am going to be working on I'm going to be teaching my adult reading class. Let me just pull up the right lesson here. Thanks for joining me behind the scenes and I see that a lot of you are engaging with us as we practice. That's fun. Thank you for doing that. As you notice, I do focus on my class though, so I appreciate you just being a fly on the wall and watching us have our class. Okay, I'm about to start my adult reading class now. Welcome to reading class. It's so nice to see you. I'm so happy that you made it. And for those of you who just came over from spelling class, it's nice to have you back. And if you are just joining us for the first time, especially welcome, a special welcome to you. And hello to all of those who are watching the recording. It's nice to have you. Okay, my friends, we're going to start by warming up our ears. Can you please count for me how many sounds are in the word hopscotch? How many sounds are in the word hopscotch? Let me put this in the Q&A here. How many sounds in hopscotch? Try to count how many sounds you hear in the word and put it in the Q&A for me. Okay, getting some 7s and 6s primarily coming through in the chat. Hopscotch. Hopscotch is a compound word. You can say each word and then add them up. You can count the sounds in each word and then add them up if you want. Okay, in hopscotch we have h, ah, p, s, k, ah, ch. 7. Again. H, ah, p, s, k, ah, ch. 7 sounds in hopscotch. Here's how those sounds are spelled. You'll notice that O, the first O and the second O both are making their short sound because the next 2 letters are consonants. That C is making its typical hard sound that it always says k, unless that next letter is an E, I, or Y. And look at the fun part of that word, that TCH. That is a trigraph, 3 letters that make one sound. And it says the same thing as a CH. TCH says the same thing as a CH. The T is just kind of a stop sound before it forms that CH sound. And another fun fact, TCH comes right after a short vowel. So when you're reading, if you see a TCH, you'll know that vowel before it makes its short sound. In this case, ah. All right, next one. How many sounds in timekeeper? Another compound word, timekeeper. Count how many tiny little sounds you hear in timekeeper. This is a fun one. How many sounds in timekeeper? Right, Justin, good. Timekeeper. Getting an awful lot of 7s in there, so I wonder if that's what it is. Let's find out. In time, we have t, I, m. There's 3. In keeper, we have k, e, p, er. 4 more, so that is 7. Very good. T, I, m, k, e, p, er. 7 sounds in timekeeper. Now take a look at it. If you see that word all together like this, you might wonder, or somebody who's not in this class might wonder, why there's a silent E smack dab in the middle of that word. But if you've been coming here long enough, you'll know that when you're reading a compound word like that, 2 words that could exist on their own, you have to keep them spelled exactly the way they are and then just push them together. So that E is not in the middle of timekeeper as much as it's at the end of time. And it's there for that I to make its long sound. And then look at that double E right there. We're going to be talking about that in this class today. So EE is usually how you spell the E sound in the middle of short words. And in timekeeper, you have time, keep, and then the suffix er. Keep is that small little 1-syllable word where you're spelling that E sound with that EE in the middle, just like we're going to talk about today and just like we learned in the last spelling class if you were in there. And then ER is a suffix that means someone who or something that. So timekeeper is someone who or something that keeps time. Last one. How many sounds in the word gnaw? Like you are going to gnaw the chicken off of a chicken bone. Gnaw. How many sounds in na? And put that in the chat for me. Nice, MP. Good, Joe. Nice, Rowan. Good, Red One. Yes, yes. Good, good, good. Yeah, everybody is right on this one, on na. So in na, we have two sounds. N, ah. You can tell because your mouth changes shape only 2 times. N, your tongue is to the roof of your mouth. Ah, your jaw is dropped. N, ah, na. So 2 sounds, and here's how those sounds are spelled. Oh, I put it up there before. I accidentally showed you before I explained it. You're going to see that GN is spelling the N sound. Why is that G there? I don't know. It's just part of a silent letter pair. We have a lot of silent letter pairs in our language. We have GN, we have KN, we have MN, GH, PS. There's a whole bunch of them. They're just silent letter pairs. We just kept them from a more old English way of spelling. They just have remained in our language. And then that AW is spelling that ah sound, which is a little bit deeper than a short O sound at the end of that word. All right, 3 more warm-up questions. Say the word quilt. Quilt. Now, don't write anything down. Say the word quilt without the O. Say the word quilt without the O. Okay, when you do that, quilt without the O, so we can't let your tongue go between your teeth right there, is quit. So we have qu-i-o, t. Removing the O, we have quit. Quilt, quit. 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 Let me know, how is that one? Easy, medium, or hard? E, M, or H? E, M, or H for easy, medium, or hard? Hard, easy, easy, medium, 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 hard, easy. Yeah, right all across the board for that one. Try this next one. 2 more. Say tire. Tire, like on a car, but don't think about the spelling, it will mess you up. Okay, this is only sound work. Now say tire, but add a g after the I. Say tire, but add a g after the I. Okay, so when you do that, we have t, I, 3 sounds, but when you add a g after the I, then you have t, I, g, tire to tiger. Tire to tiger. Let me know how that one was. I'm curious. Easy, medium, or hard? That's what I thought. I thought that one would be a little more easy, although there are several hards and mediums in here, so you are not the only one. But I have a feeling that your subconscious might have helped you a lot with that one. Last one. Last warm-up before we do our deep learning. Say the word tune. Tune. Now we're going to change a sound. Change the oo to an eh. Change the oo in tune, don't think about the spelling, to an eh. So when you do that, tune turns into 10. Tune to 10. Totally different mouth shapes because of that vowel. How is that one? Easy, medium, or hard? Tune to 10. Quite a few hards for that one. The sounds were t, oo, n. We're changing this oo, so we have to focus on your mouth shape. If you want to master the sound, you have to master the shape. So if you want to be in control of that oo sound, you have to be intentional about the shape of your mouth. You can't let it form the oo. You have to let it form the eh in that spot. T, oo to an eh is t-eh-n. tuned 10. Lots of hearts in that one. Monica, I bet you're doing better than you think you are. Don't you worry, my friend. I'm sure you're doing better than you think. All right, so since we are wrapping up E month, here's what you're going to see in the words that you're going to encounter in our lesson today. You're going to see some single E's with another vowel in the next 1 or 2 spots, and you know that that first E is going to say E. Sometimes the companion vowel is going to be an EE. Sometimes the companion vowel is going to be an E, consonant, final, silent E. Sometimes the companion vowel will be an EI. That will come after a C. Well, no, in this lesson it probably will come after several different things because I'm teaching your subconscious to see that as a unit, that EI as a unit, so that you will know what it says. It follows the tap 2 rule if you forget. That E will say E because one of the next 2 letters is another vowel. You're also going to see Y at the end of multi-syllable words. Y's at the end usually say E when they're at the end of longer words like that. EY will also spell the E sound at the end of longer words. That usually comes at the end of, right after an N, a K, or an LL. All right, so we get practicing. Let me share my screen. Here we are. Wait a minute. Did it stop sharing? I think it did. Let me try again. There we go. Okay. Can you see this? So our words look a little intimidating, don't they? But that's just at first glance. We know enough now to know how to break these words up into meaningful segments. You know enough now so that you know exactly what each vowel is going to say. So it might look a little intimidating at the beginning, but after we break it down, it's going to be much more accessible. So we know that this first E is going to say eh, because the next 2 letters are consonants. We know that the second E is also going to say eh for the same reason. And then this EI is spelling the E sound. It still follows the tap 2 rule. E is saying E because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. So our sounds are eh, f, eh, p, e, That's a lot, so we'll do successive blending, one sound at a time. E, F, F, FM, FMP, FMPR, FMPRE, FMPREM, FMPREM. You want to try it on your own? Go ahead and try number 1 over here without me. Go for it. When you have a 3-syllable word, and how did I just know by looking at that word that there was 3 syllables in it? I knew because there were 3 vowels that didn't touch. You can kind of see how many syllables are in a word just by glancing, by knowing if there are 3 vowels that don't touch or how many vowels there are that don't touch. So I can see that this is a 3-syllable word because here's a vowel, and here's a vowel sound. When you have a 3-syllable word, usually that first syllable is going to be accented or said stronger or with more emphasis. Like you'll notice on number 1 over here on this side, I said FMPREM, FMPREM with this syllable accented. I said it more strongly or with more emphasis, FMPREM. So you can practice that on your word over here with this first syllable being accented, since that's typically the syllable that's accented in a 3-syllable word. Okay? Does that change the way you pronounce the word? All right, so our sounds are t, n, s, t, n. Let's just blend those one at a time. Etenstein, 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 sorry, N at the end. Did you notice that I accented the first syllable? Etenstein, Etenstein. Accent means just said with a little bit more emphasis, a little bit more intention at that first part of the word. Etenstein. How'd you do on Etenstein? For both of these examples, I'm having issues knowing when it's a short E versus a schwa sound, sounding E at the beginning. Well, that's a good question. So E is rarely going to change to the schwa sound. I mean, it does, it's sometimes at the beginning, sometimes toward the end if the last letter is an L. But the schwa sound and the short E sound are kind of similar, so I can see how you would wonder which one it is. I want the short E sound today. In all instances, when we are reading a short E sound, if the next 2 letters are consonants, I want that jaw kind of dropped and your mouth in that E shape. The shapes are different from to that's a schwa sound. That's a very lazy sound. It's the laziest sound that your mouth can make. So there's no muscles being used in your jaw to open it or shut it. It just hangs there and your tongue is just hanging out in your mouth. And it just is the laziest sound you can form. You have to move your mouth out, your lips out a little bit to form that sound. Versus you have to actually use the muscles in your mouth to form the sound. So in all of the short E sounds today, we're going to be intentional about that sound. Does IE say E too? It can in some instances, and we'll probably learn about that next month in I month. Okay, let's try number 2. So number 2, I have a short E right there because the next 2 letters are consonants, and here's that EY. EY will often come after an L like that, and it follows the tap 2 rule. It's going to say E because one of the next 2 letters is another vowel. Y is a vowel when it's not the first letter. So our sounds are 3-letter consonant blend here at the beginning. Grab that R. S, T, E, M, P, L, E. Blending them all together. Stremply. Stremply. How many syllables are in this word? In the Q&A, put how many syllables are in this word. How many do you think? Right. There are 2 syllables because you can see at a glance that there are 2 vowels that aren't touching. So when you have a 2-syllable word like that, usually the first syllable is still accented. Same with the 3. 2 and 3, the first syllable is usually accented. So I'm going to put my little accent mark right there above the E. So when I say this word, I'm going to emphasize that first syllable. Stremply, stremply. Do that one on your own over here on number 2. Very good. Okay, so we know that this E is going to say because the next 2 letters are consonants. We know that this EY is going to say E. That's a vowel team that says E, but you also don't have to wonder what it's going to say. You can tell because of the tap 2 rule that E has another vowel after it. That Y is a vowel if it's not the first letter. So our sounds are P, O, F, E. Accenting that first syllable, we have plethry, plethry. Give me a Y or an A 4, yes or almost. How did you do on plethry? Plethry. Good. Lots of Y's. That's good to see. But there's also several A's. Don't you feel a bit bad if it's an A? A's are still A's. They're still almost, and that's progress. All right, let's try number 3. Go ahead and read number 3, the first one here, on your own. Yeah. Yeah, so this first E is going to say right? Because of those 2 T's right there. This double E, you know, says E because of the tap 2 rule. So our sounds are t, E, blending them together. Team. Accenting that first syllable, right? Because it's a 2-syllable word, so we're going to accent that first team. Team. What would it have said, just for fun, if there was only 1 T in that word? Then it would have said E-team. That first E would have had to have changed to a long E sound. E-team. Good. I want you to skip this second number 3 over here and come down to number 4. Try this first number 4. All right, so we know that this first E is going to say because of the tap 2 rule. Here is our EI that also follows the tap 2 rule. EI is a grapheme that says E. And we know that Y at the end of a longer word usually says E. So our sounds are t, Make sure you articulate each one of those sounds. Don't let it turn into a chur. Make sure it's a ter. P, o, e, f, e. Here's what's going to want to happen. An R or an L might want to slip in after your F. So focus on your mouth shape right there. And don't let an R or an L sound come between that F and that Y, because that's going to be tempting for your tongue to do, okay? So successive blending, we have t, ter, tre, trem, tremp, tremple, tremply, trempleef, trempleefy, trempleefy. How did you do? Y or A? Yes or almost on trempleefy? Good. That's a lot of Y's. It looks hard, but it was easy. That's right. Isn't that amazing how it might look intimidating, but because you have the tools now to understand how it's going to be read, how those sounds are going to be pronounced, and in what order, you're in control of that word. It's not in control of you. For the last 5 minutes, let's come down here to the extra practice, and I want you to pick which one you want me to do with you before I send you off on your own. Any requests? 7, it is Joe, you got it. All right, everybody try number 7 on your own, and then I'll come back after you. Okay. All right, we know that this first E is going to say because of the tap 2 rule. Here is our EE grapheme that says E, And here's our Y at the end of a multi-syllable word that's usually pronounced as E. So our sounds are F, E, N, P, O, E, M, E. One sound at a time. Fr, fre, fren, friend, p, friendful, friendly, friendpleem, friendpleemy, friendpleemy. How'd you do on friendpleemy? Y or A? Yes or almost? For friendpleemy. Look at that. I love the exclamation points, Kaylee. That's beautiful. That's a lot of Y's, my friends. Look how good you're doing. Holy smokes. You're amazing. Is there anything on this page that scares you? Or do any of these words intimidate you? If so, put the number in the Q&A and let's do it together before I send you off on your own so that you can see that it's really accessible. It's not intimidating after all. All right, number 9. Try number 9. You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. All right, so our first E is going to say E, right? Because there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors down. Do you remember in last class, I got that so wrong? I thought that it was a short vowel and it was a long vowel, and you guys corrected me on that. Make sure that you correct me when I make egregious mistakes like that. But I'm pretty sure that this E is going to say E because it follows the tap 2 rule. This E also follows the tap 2 rule and says eh. Same with this E, says eh. Y at the end of a longer word usually says E. Sounds. L, E, P, E, N, T, R, E, F, E. One sound at a time. There's a lot to grab. Let's do lee, leap, leape, leapen, leapent, leapenter, leapentre, leapentref, leapentreffy, leapentreffy. How did you do on leapentreffy? Y or A? Yes or almost? Leapentreffy. James, thank you for the kind word. For the kind words, I appreciate that. Leapentreffy. I'm going to say about half and half. Half of you found leapentreffy. You were able to do it without me. And those of you that put almost, I bet that you were able to grab it after I did it with you. Right? If that was the hardest one on the page and you were able to get it after I helped you with it, then that is progress. And now you can go and do all of those other words, those extra practice words without me, and you'll be just fine. If you can do the hardest one, you can do those rest without me. Okay, my friends, that is our time for today, but it has been such a pleasure working with you today and reviewing what we have learned about E. Next time I see you on Monday, we'll be in a new month. We'll be in I month, and that will be a whole new ball of fun. So have a wonderful weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you on Monday. Bye, everybody. All right, my friends. Thank you for joining me for that little behind the scenes session of watching me teach. I had a youth spelling class, an adult spelling class, and then an adult reading class. So yeah, Michelle, the link to join the class is in my bio. And let me just look at a few of these I've been going live for an hour and a half teaching, so I haven't been able to look at the comments. So I'm not going to go back to the very beginning, but oh, that's wonderful, Brandon. Welcome. I'm just going to How do you join? You just, if you click on my little profile picture there, you'll see a link in my bio, and then the link to the classes is in there. And then I also have YouTube going over here. Hello, my friends on YouTube. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. It's been so lovely to see everybody. All right, that is my time for today, but I look forward to going live while I teach my classes with you so that you can just kind of get a glimpse of what our classes are like. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye, everybody.